Alrighty, so good morning. All right, we're just getting up, ready for our first full day of touring around Johannesburg. We have gotten ready. It's about 8:30. They're picking us up at 8:30. So a little after 8, we're having some breakfast in the restaurant down here. And the gentleman will pick us up at 8:30. Then we have what is scheduled to be about a 4-hour tour of various sites within the city of Johannesburg. We're not quite sure exactly. I mean, we saw the list, but we don't know what those places are. So we should looking forward to seeing things that we've never seen before, learning a little bit about the city and its history. I haven't quite figured out what we'll be doing in the afternoon, but yesterday was a day of rest, and that was very helpful. We took the stroll over to the mall, but it was literally around the corner there. So let's see what today brings. Bye. So, just finished up breakfast. We have a few minutes before our driver/guide arrives, and I was just sitting here thinking it took us 30 years to make this trip a reality. And anybody who might be seeing this, might I suggest not waiting that long for something that you really looked forward to and thought about. I was just thinking of friends of mine from high school who have passed, or previous work colleagues and so on, who have also passed and didn't have an opportunity necessarily to fulfill some dream that they had had for a while. My wife and I think I mentioned before, have been talking about this for about 30 years. And to be here now, actually able to do it and to have these experiences and to, get this educational experience of seeing things and hearing things and learning things that we did not know before. It's incredible. It is absolutely incredible. So we are really, really enjoying our time here on the continent. I had always said that this was a once-in-a-lifetime trip. But now I'm thinking, we may have to do this again, maybe in 10 or 15 years, see other countries and others than the ones we saw, or maybe revisit countries that we had seen prior. But if you're having any sort of a dream about traveling to a specific country, learning about a specific, history or culture or whatever, my advice to you is to try and do it sooner rather than later, because you just never know what's coming down the pike. And I'm just so thankful that we have the opportunity to still be here to be able to have these experiences. So we're off to enjoy some more stuff. See ya.
Here, as you can see on your right, the foundation, which is playing a huge role in terms of dealing with issues of racial issues in the country, because we are a very young democracy, so which we are dealing with a lot in terms of the race relation. It's still fragile. It's 30 years, which the country has done well in terms of human rights and so on, which is the house Nelson Mandela used to live. So he lived here from 1992 until 1994. So that was the time he was the president of the ANC, African National Congress. So after that, he moved to Pretoria, the presidential house, and lived there until 1999 and retired. And he moved to another house at the 12th Avenue. So that's where he lived with his third wife. Mandela was married 3 times. Evelyn, the first wife, Winnie Mandela, the second wife, as well as Graça Machel. She was the only woman married to 2 presidents, Nelson Mandela, as well as Samora Machel, the former president of Mozambique. So the house was converted to a hotel, sanctuary. There was some commotion that happened few days ago, because the police raided this house, because the nephew and the other 5 men were accused of hijacking
This house over here.
This house is Uber vehicle, which they were all arrested right here. It was like 4 or 5 days ago. So it was a no-go area. There was a lot of police presence around here. So, but this is the house he lived with Graça Machel, the third wife of Mandela. Let's step outside. I want to show you something here. No, that's fine. You can leave that one. So what do you know about Nelson Mandela?
Well, other than basically being the father of freedom
Uh-huh.
in South Africa,
Yeah.
you know, and of course all of the change of getting apartheid, not really a whole lot.
Okay. Robert Sobukwe. You have never
Heard that name?
Uh-huh. Solomon Masangu. Not really, eh? All right. So yes, the Mandela name became a big brand. You know, which, as I was saying, it was somehow protected because it really benefited some people. But of course, this is the man who played such a huge role.
Small enough, okay. And that same maternity, was funded, you know. So now I look at that. That had this class.
Metros, they struggle to get them back, so which is would be very difficult, you know, for the ANC right now. Right, welcome to the Upper Houghton. This is quite a beautiful overview, of course, to the northern suburb. The beautiful view to the northern suburb, Central City. Straight ahead, that is the richest square mile in Africa. So that's
Wow.
where the money is. You know, remember, is that all right? Sure. I remember this guy on Facebook. He was like, "I'm looking for an accommodation in Santa." Right there. So people are like, "What is your budget?" I was like, "No, it's 2,000 rand." So people are like, "You know what? That money is for you to breathe, not for you to buy anything in Santa, because it is a very, very expensive suburb of Johannesburg." So that is the Leonardo, the tallest building in Africa, 55 stories, which is apartment, office block, and then car dealership as well as the hotel. So next to it we have the they have a car dealership as well, and then which is the neighborhood doing very, very well. Rosebank, that's where you guys are staying.
Right.
Next to the black building there, the one on your right, that is the headquarters of the Anglo-American De Beers Group. These
Diamonds.
the
Yep.
diamonds.
The diamond people.
Yeah, so they just see the building, the one on the right, is actually opposite your hotel there.
Okay.
Yes. That's why there's a lot of security along that street, because of that, offices there. And then white building, that's a mosque. Christianity is our biggest religion, right there, yes. So we have about 5% Muslims, which many Muslims are found in the, the Cape area.
Yeah, I noticed that in the mall. I was like, wow, it's a very large Muslim
It's
population.
actually quite big, but we have more in the Cape as well as in the Natal, because the Cape, that's where the Malaysians were brought as slaves, to work in the winelands and all of those parts. So that's why we have a big Muslim population in the Cape. On the 2nd of January, they were celebrating. It's like a parade, the carnival, where every year, they commemorate the 2nd of January, which was known as a holiday for them. Because after New Year, Sir Herbert Becker. So this is the man who also designed the Union Building in Pretoria. So it's private school. It used to be segregated during apartheid, where the white students were only allowed here, because Africans who could only study in villages and townships were not allowed. Lots and lots of illegal activities. Just like this round building, it was once hijacked. You know, used to be the luxurious apartment of Johannesburg, built in 1975. So I met quite a few people who used to live here. A few weeks ago, I did a tour with a lady. She used to live at number 14, a story of this building.
Okay.
So, which she was saying everything was working. A white South African, by the way. So everything was working until the early 90s. So things started getting out of hand. The building was hijacked, and then whereas gangs started, pushing people out, and then the squatters were living in this building. So it's quite an interesting design, because it is like a hollow in the middle, where when it was hijacked, squatters were dumping trash, right in the middle, which it built up to a 12-story of trash. So when the owners went to court to get eviction order and failed, they then decided to hire an eviction company and forcibly removed all the squatters. So this is how many of those were forcibly moved in that building. They then started cleaning it, and then that's how today it has become a better building like that in Johannesburg. So, but the neighborhood, it's still dealing with a lot of issues, because as you can see, the littering, they don't collect trash, and then people are just doing nothing basically. Buildings have been hijacked and all of that. So the lovely apartment in Johannesburg like that.
So who is responsible for collecting trash? Is that something that people are responsible for doing, or does the city do it and just neglect to do it here?
It's under the city. So the problem is, many of these people are not paying for the services, where the municipality doesn't prioritize, communities like this, because they are not collecting any of the revenues.
Okay.
So that's why these neighborhoods have been neglected, because they are not collecting. And then which you have a lot of squatters, living in these buildings like that. So this is what the city is dealing with when you look at many of the buildings which have been taken over, by gangs or group of gangs like that.
So the gangs are involved, you said, involved in prostitution and drugs and...
They of course involved in like prostitution, but there are a lot of people, coming from Mozambique, Zimbabwe, young girls, those who are forced into prostitution and so on, because these are gangs who just want to make money. So they end up bring people from those countries, to work as sex workers and all of that. So which end of the day, it's part of the human trafficking that they do, which is quite sad like that. Right, Johannesburg, it's also famous for universities. So we have University of Africa won the Rugby World Cup in 1995. So we beat the All Blacks right there. So the movie was about that final, the World Cup, actually, Rugby World Cup in general. Throughout the night, so people we call it babalaza or hangover, in South Africa. So that's why it's a little bit quiet. So these guys wearing reflectors are the security, making sure that the neighborhood is very safe. And Pata Pata, that is the restaurant named after Maria Makeba.
Okay.
Yes, so she made songs such as Pata Pata.
Yes.
Aluta Continua, and then Malaika. She died in Italy while performing in 2008. She was one of our freedom fighters as well. Umama Miriam Makiba.
So now that was that actually her restaurant, or it was just named after her?
Just named the restaurant and after her. Right, welcome to Maboneng, the place of lights. Let's take a walk. Leadership. That's what Africa is struggling with. So this is the map here, and then the feast. Power to the people. Sure, you've seen Mandela, Mandela, when they give speeches, they will say Amandla. That means power to the people. And then people respond to say away to, meaning ours. Amandla, power to the people, ours. So that's why you see this face like that. So very rich continent all over the world. But
did it just happen this way, or was it planned?
was actually run down warehouses, engineering companies, some apartments and so on.
What is the name of your store?
It's called Tachena Africa. Tachena. So I can record it for you.
Yes, just. Oh, whoops. Yes. Go ahead.
Hey, good. Okay, so my store name is Tachena Africa. Yeah, we are situated corner Fox, Fox, and Kruger Street, Kruger in Maboneng. It's TACHENA Fashions. If you are googling it, TACHA Fashions in Maboneng. That's right.
Thank you so very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye. It's a great little store. We picked up a few magnets and some little canvas artwork. Really enjoyed that.
Argentina.
Okay.
Yes, so when she died. So that was very sad, because she was like a mother. Because the other daughter, she was not interested in politics. Okay, right, so we're going to downtown Johannesburg. Johannes Resik and Johannes Jobert. They actually combine the names Berg, which means a city. So we call Johannesburg the Denver of South Africa. So they say Denver, it's a mile-high city. Johannesburg, it's even higher than Denver, 6,000 feet.
Wow.
Or 2,000 meters above sea level. So that's why we get snow during our winter time. I mean, 2023 was the coldest winter since 1981. It was -4 in Johannesburg, which was very cold. We lost quite a few homeless people, due to the cold weather like that.
So this would be considered part of the downtown?
This is downtown. The old
downtown.
Yeah.
Okay.
The new downtown, it's like 20 minutes north.
Okay.
Santon City. Carlton Center on your right. These used to be the tallest building in Africa.
Okay.
So that's why it
I
was
see.
called the top of Africa. 50 stories, 223 meters high. It's a building which it's run by Transnet, one of our state-owned company. So this is their headquarters. So they have, or rather they own the harbors, the airline, as well as the metros, or metro rail. So this is the old hotel, Carlton Hotel, which used to be the 5-star hotel of Johannesburg. So that's also been closed since 1998, you know, which is very sad because...
So it's completely closed. So
completely
this
closed,
giant,
yes.
gigantic building, and they
Yeah.
don't use it.
Which it has the shape of calabash, not calabash, rather the shape of mine shaft.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, this is how it's designed, you know.
Okay. And this building that's connected to it, is it closed as well?
This is empty as well. Mahatma Ghandi.
Okay.
So Ghandi was a lawyer. He was actually recruited by a law firm in Johannesburg to fight for the rights of the Indians who were exploited in the mines. But the Indians came in, arrived in the Natal after the British occupying the Natal. At the same time,
Ghandi
they
Square.
colonized, you know, India. So that's how Indians were brought to work in sugarcane fields. So that's Mahatma Gandhi statue wearing his law regalia.
Oh,
So
okay.
yes, he spent 22 years in South Africa fighting for the rights of the Indian people. So he didn't, fight much for Africans because, he was interested only for his people like that. He spent about 7 months and 10 days at the prison in Johannesburg there, where we are going a little bit later on. So this is downtown Johannesburg. We are at the center of the city. So we have office blocks, just like the EFF, Economic Freedom Fighters, the political party which is led by Julius Malema. Malema is one of the famous politicians in Africa. He's known for his calling for Africans to unite, you know, but that has put him in hot water with some of the white South Africans in South Africa like that. Because anyone who's talking about the unity, you become a threat.
Yes. Not just in Africa.
Yeah, all over the world.
So now, South Africa is broken up into provinces, or is that just Johannesburg that's broken up into provinces?
Well, Johannesburg is a city in Gauteng, which is one of the 9 provinces. So we have 9 provinces in South Africa.
Okay.
Yes. The Rand Club, it's a very interesting building, yeah, which was known as Gentlemen's Club. This is where they will hang around making deals, you know, while enjoying the scotch and all of that. So it was a hotel as well as the restaurant, a building which was constructed in 1890, so which is still operating, but it's no longer doing well like it used to. A lot of beautiful buildings, eh?
Yeah.
Lots and lots of beautiful buildings.
Standard thing.
That was their headquarters. It's one of the biggest and the oldest bank in South Africa. Look at this one on your left. The Cullinan rather used to be their headquarters here. One of the biggest mining company. So they also closed down. So that's an empty building. The Cullinan Group. In 1905, the biggest diamond was discovered in Cullinan, east of Pretoria, weighing 3,106 carats.
Okay.
Yeah, that was cut in 9 pieces And one of the bigger pieces still with the British, the jewel crown. So we're now going to the Chancellor's house, Nelson Mandela, as well as O.R. Tambo. Lemtasa mespak sabhlungu man. Yo. So 1962, a bomb killed 3 white police officers. It was after the MK military wing of the African National Congress carried out 200 acts of sabotage. So they were targeting churches, power lines, as well as the power stations. Because after the shooting in 1960, which killed 69 people, the ANC formed the military wing, Umkhonto weSizwe, which MK carried out 200 acts of sabotage. So this building on your right, Chancellor's House, this is the law firm which was owned by Mandela as well as O.R. Tambo. So it was the voice of the non-whites, especially those who were arrested for not carrying passes, during apartheid. As you can see, Mandela, they're holding the pass. On your left, that's Mandela statue there as a boxer. So Mandela was a boxer, but not a very good boxer. He fought about 18 fights, lost 16, 1 draw, 1 walkover. But this is the man who enjoys, boxing, because it's a mental sport. The blue building there on your right, John Foster Square, or the torture house. So that's where during apartheid, anti-apartheid activists were taken there, interrogated, even killed by the apartheid police. In 1971, Ahmed Timol died in that police station. The police claimed that they committed suicide by jumping at the 10-story building. But this family knew that was not true, because there were a lot of people who were dying under the police, or in police detention like that. Which, as you can see, still clean. So in 1886, they put these around the mines, making tunnels, in Johannesburg. So that's why we have the deepest mine in the world. There's a mine called Maboneng, which is 3 miles deep.
Wow.
In 1897, Johannesburg became the largest gold producers in the world, and then 40% of the world gold since the gold rush, it came from Johannesburg Plateau. Right, so for many years, the mining industry has been struggling with working conditions which have been terrible. Miners dying of, TB, silicosis, because it has always been terrible like that. You can see this picture. They were not wearing even proper mining gear, even helmet. So they were contracting a lot of TB, silicosis underground like that. So this is Langlaagte mine, the first mine where gold was discovered in Johannesburg in 1886. So it's an industry which had workers from all over the continent, Malawians, Zimbabweans, South Africans, Mozambicans, and many others. So that's why they had to come up with ways of communicating, because you can imagine the mess that was going to happen if they didn't come up with a language. So that's why Fanata law was the language introduced in the mine. So this is how they used to communicate. It was kind of similar like Zulu, so people could understand each other, in the mine. So for more than 100 years, the industry has not been transformed. Conditions are still bad. I don't know if you're following news in South Africa. There are about 2,000 illegal miners stuck underground. We don't know whether they are trapped or they're just refusing to come out because the police are waiting for them since they are illegal. So they've been dying because there's no food underground. You know, even yesterday they announced about 6 died. You know,
So they are legal in the country?
they are legally miners. They are also illegal in the country. These are the Lesotho nationals, most of them. So they come and mine illegally. We don't know where they are selling this gold. So, but they've been refusing to come out, and the police are waiting. Some are coming out one by one. Some are dying, unfortunately, which has, you know, been a big problem for quite some time in South Africa. Like that, in Mpumalanga, Barberton, that's where you find the oldest rocks in the world. There is a gold mine where 3 miners also died. It's been more than 7 years now. They're trapped underground because they're waiting in the container, and the container fell into a sink. So they were never retrieved with their bodies like that. They tried, remember in Chile some years back,
Yes.
when there was that accident, they tried that approach, but it didn't work.
It didn't work.
It became risky for the, you know, rescue teams, so then they had to give up on that, which is quite sad. Right, stamp mill battery. These were used to crush rocks in, you know, in the mines. So in the late 80s, they brought many of these to actually crush rocks in the mine, so which they were from England, London, because many of these were brought to Kimberley, which is where the first commercial mining started there, but that was diamond, and then to Johannesburg. They used to take about 3 to 4 weeks, depending on the weather, and they were pulled by the oxes, you know, from the Cape area to downtown Johannesburg. So there were some of the mines which were right here inside, you know, Johannesburg. So that's why when you drive around the city, you see outside the city, you see some mine dumps or the tailings, which is the trash, you know, from gold mining. Look at the rocks there. That is the replica of the 7.8 kilogram nugget, which was found in Ghandi. This big one there. But it was not big like that, of course. We're all going to be rich, eh? So maybe this kind of a size.
Okay.
Yes, so, but that was founded in that mine 1874, east of Johannesburg, Pilgrim Rest. But till today, no one knows what happened to that gold, which we believe in the early 1900s, the British might have taken many of, you know, the gold from South Africa. Trains were used as well to ferry the workers, and then that's an empty building. That's from the Cullinan Group, so one of the famous mine, but they, you know, sold that mine to the Premier and now to Petro Diamonds. So east of Pretoria, that's where the famous diamond was discovered there. So the mode of transport in the early 1900s was wagons. So workers used to move from the mine, Langlaagte, of course, into Johannesburg, which has always been a market here. So people used to trade, you know, back in the days. There were a lot of wagons which they were pulled by the oxen into downtown Johannesburg. So that's how the city grew. From the mining in the late 70s, many of these mines had to shut down because the gold was no longer enough to sustain those companies, and also due to the rising toxic water, because mercury has always been used to extract gold, which can cause affect like the nerve system and all of that, so which has been a big problem for the Johannesburg mines. So today we have even quite a few mines operating, but not around the city like outside Johannesburg. The towns such as Carltonville, Randfontein, Krugersdorp, so that's where there's still some mining operation in Johannesburg like that. And it's also quite interesting how the gold was formed. We talk about 3.5 billion years of the reef. So, but what exposed these minerals was due to the meteorite, So which like a big rock came from the sky 120 million years ago, boom, it hit the ground. And this is how it is exposed, these minerals. It covers a distance of about 120 kilometers in diameter. So that's why when you look at the gold concentrated areas in Johannesburg, it's southwest of the city. We don't have gold mines in the north, it's only diamonds. We have quite a few mines in the east, but the southwestern part of the city, that's where you find many of the gold mines because of that meteorite which happened in that area like that. Let's continue. Were buried with these treasures, just like the Egyptian mummies, which was a symbol of wealth, especially to the chiefs, in that region. So, and the interesting things about the chiefs, they were buried facing south, which has not been the normal way of burial, because one of the mine was inside the bank.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was right inside. So the passes were like documents, which were called dompas or reference book. So when you are stopped by police, you had to produce that. So without the passes, it was an offense. People were arrested, taken to this building, detained, and then after that they were taken to the magistrate court there, where they were given fines. Same thing happened to my dad. He spent 3 nights and then taken to the magistrate court and given a fine and deported back to the village, because they didn't need the people who were not working to be in the city. This is how they control the movement of the people during apartheid, where people had to carry these documents when walking and so on. This is the name of the artist behind this work. So this one is known as the legendary musicians. Maria Makeba, right at the end there. Kimimi Eketsi, one of the famous jazz musicians in the late 30s. And then Busim Mhlongo, one of the famous Maskandi artists. And here we have Jonas Gwangwa, also a jazz musician. So these were all done by Dibongs Mahlati, the famous artist from Johannesburg. So he's been doing lots and lots of work around the city, to give a beautiful look of this beautiful city called Johannesburg like that.
When we were in the mall, we saw a lot of stores that basically were American-based companies. Do you also have a lot of British-based companies here?
Yeah, they're there, but I mean, America it's one of our biggest trading partners, with over 600 companies investing in South Africa. So that's why with now China kind of emerging, it has really put us in a very awkward position as a country, because we are part of the BRICS countries, where there's China, Brazil, India, Russia. So because that's threatening the American, its existence in terms of investment in South Africa. So, but yes, there are some few companies as well from England. That was done by the same artist, the Bongs Mahlati. going to Braamfontein. This is Newtown. Braamfontein, it's the student district. So we have colleges, universities like VETS, UNISA, and many other colleges, as well as Mandela Bridge. It was built in 2000, Skimo and Sons with the architecture. It took about 3 years to complete the bridge, and it's 284 meters long. Look at all the trains. They've been stuck here for more than 5 years now, since the beginning of the pandemic, because trains were suspended to control the spread of the virus, but there were no security guards to look after the infrastructure. So that's how criminals started cutting off the copper cables, overhead cables. So it then led to this train being stuck here. So, but they've repaired some of those lanes, and then they've put now new trains. But many of these are still stuck here.
Minivans, okay.
The king of the roads.
So maybe they stole the copper.
Well, it is alleged that some of them were involved, because the more trains are not working, the more business for these people.
Okay.
Yes. So they just don't want to share any of the business with anyone, including the trains, you know, which is crazy like that. So that's the Wits University, the university where Mandela studied law. So he studied law at the University of Witwatersrand.
What is this round building to the right?
This is the part of the Johannesburg municipality. Yes, this is their offices right here. The mayor of the city is right here.
Okay.
Peter? Yes. One, two, man. Yes.
Yeah, just come to that side. Okay.
Okay, this way.
Okay.
Alright, for the 11 o'clock guided tour, we may begin. Please do follow me down this way. Good morning, everyone. So yet again, welcome to Constitution Hill. My name is Pearl Mieni, and I will be your guide for the site. Right? We are a heritage site as Constitution Hill and an old prison complex during apartheid in South Africa, which was a system of institutionalized racial segregation. This was the main prison in the city of Johannesburg. It started operating from 1893. That's when the prison was opened by Paul Kruger, who was the prime minister at the time. So prison, just to maintain the law and order, this was it. In 1896, the prison was fortified. It became a military garrison for a couple of years, especially during the Anglo-Boer War that broke out in South Africa, a war between the British and the Boers. So we'll start off with this exhibition, then we'll move on to the other. So here, yet another cell. And a bit of a sleeping arrangement over here. This prison was a notorious one due to gangs. So the numbers gangs that exist in South Africa today originate from this prison, known as the 28s, 26s, 27s, 25s. So they all originate from this prison. So amongst the criminals, they create these gangs, and gang leaders who dominate and dictate how life in a cell runs. So this sleeping arrangement was then done so by these gang leaders. So for instance, as a gang leader, here's a distribution of food, would have been over here. A table for Africans, another table for the Coloureds and Asians, as they wouldn't receive the same food, although they were non-white, but the food was different. And yeah, as you see, a daily diet literally was regulated according to race. For instance, second from the top, mealies. Mealies is a bit similar to corn. So this corn was only given to the Africans. Bread, 20 ounces to white prisoners, 8 ounces to Coloureds and Asians, and the Africans wouldn't receive. Imagine. Oh, so you just arrived. Hope you're gonna enjoy our culture. So far, so good. Lovely.
That's like a common toilet.
Facility in 30 minutes for everyone as a collective. There's cold water, no hot water within this premises, within this side of the prison rather. And it wasn't enough time to be able to take a shower. I mean, the prison had about 2,000 prisoners at some point, so 30 minutes is certainly not enough for everyone, right? There's a testimony that speaks of how it was wrong, it was not nice for us.
Nope, lizard.
Look at the two exhibitions, punishment and
the moral support that we had made us feel very brave. Chaps, this is not going to happen to us. Chaps, we are going to stand on our own and we're going to fight for our rights. We went there with the view that right, we are convicted prisoners and we will conduct ourselves in prison in accordance with our own principles. So one, we will not refer to them in us. We will refer to them by their name, we will respect them.
But I think it's worth it to go. You never get to go and to see.
yeah,
something like that.
definitely. So please do.
Yeah. She said it's worth to go into. So we'll go 10 minutes.
At the time, was this way outside of the city, or was this still kind of in the city like it is now?
Oh, it was because at the time, Johannesburg was a gold reef at first, so literally nothing, literally just a gold mining
Right.
spot. So then the prison was built on a hill. There was nothing much surrounding it.
Yeah, right.
It was just, so as the years progressed, then buildings, the infrastructure started to develop
Around it.
So actually, from around your 40s, 1930s, 40s, it was within the buildings and all that.
Thanks.
And yeah, I'd say that people would walk just across from Hillbrow to about Parktown, wouldn't even know much that was happening inside here. Is isolation. Yeah, so the isolation cells that I spoke about, these were it. Yeah. So just one person in the cell.
And why do you go out 1 hour or what?
Just a bit of a break, just to walk maybe over here to upload your bucket that you used as a toilet. It's also, there was a flushable toilet where you could offload that bucket here. And they just get a bit of a breather outside of the cell.
If they stay here for long? Or months?
First time Nelson Mandela was incarcerated within the prison was inside the awaiting trial building in 1956 when he was charged with treason amongst other political activists. So they were all locked up in the awaiting trial building that stood here. The building had to be demolished in 2001 to make way for the Constitutional Court to be built. So when this building got demolished, the old building, the stairwells were left. So what you see here is a remnant from the awaiting trial building, reminding us of the injustices of the past. May those injustices never repeat again. Here is the flame of democracy, which was lit on the 10th of December 2011 to celebrate the 15th anniversary. Family members coming to seek for loved ones in this awaiting trial. So you come in the morning, walk away.
We're only going slow, but it is open now.
Our court is very symbolic and everything is quite bold and statement, such as the doors of the court with our 27 Bill of Rights. The rights in Chapter 2 of our South African Constitution should be for everyone, even the marginalized. Right? The writing on the concrete are the founding values of our Constitution, which are freedom, equality, and dignity. They were written by the first justices of the Constitutional Court in the different languages again. The bottom handwriting is by Zaki Yacoub. Justice Zaki Yacoub, who was actually blind, a blind justice in here. Hence the handwriting looks in that manner, right? The court is very much big on diversity as well, and you'll see with the justice at home. So that it gives a bit of a difference, right? Yeah, so we'll then have a look inside our constitutional court. So if you have a bag, the bags will need to be scanned, please. So we'll do the scanning of bags and cell phones. Maybe wear animal hide to represent status and how dignified they are. So each justice has this form of dignity in front of them. The white patterns look different to each other, representing their individuality. They sit there with different backgrounds and beliefs, right? Got the old bricks yet again from the demolished awaiting trial building on the side. We've got the window in between, so whenever people are walking outside, you get to see legs and feet whilst you're inside the chamber, so you can hardly tell race.
What kinds of other things do you recommend for people to go and see?
Well, we've covered everything in Johannesburg. Of course, Apartheid Museum, which Mondays, Tuesdays are closed. Yeah, so in Joburg, we've covered everything. It's only the Carlton, which that's been closed since the pandemic, because we used to go up the building. So, but now you cannot go, and that area it's somehow dealing with a lot of crime and so on. So Soweto as well, which is a township southwest of Johannesburg. So there's Mandela House there, there's Archbishop Desmond Tutu's house, there's Hector Peterson Museum, but it's closed as well on Mondays. Yeah. Everywhere.
The Impalas, the McDonald's of the bush.
When we were on the game drive, we saw a lot of impalas, and our guide, that's what he called the impalas. He said the McDonald's of the bush because we would see so many
everywhere.
Alrighty, so we had a interesting morning. Spent about 4 hours touring around Johannesburg and ended at Constitution Hill, where we saw the seat of their Supreme Court, the Constitutional Court, I think it's called, as well as we had a tour of a jail where both Nelson Mandela and Mahatma Ghandi were incarcerated at different times. You know, like what we saw in Ghana, you know, it just continues to remind you of the craziness that we have done to one another. Because of course here it was the whole apartheid situation. So we are now, we're returned to our hotel, and we had a little bit of a respite to figure out what we wanted to do next. We have walked back over to the mall that's, you know, a couple blocks away, and we're having lunch. We just ordered with a place called George's, and after that we'll just kind of stroll around the mall. Malls are kind of a dying thing, at least in our part of the US. So we looked yesterday and it was like, wow, a mall with tons and tons of stores, tons and tons of people. But we'll see what that looks like. But for now, time to chow down on some lunch. So we've been walking around the Rosebank Mall for the last hour or so, and marveling at all of the different stores that we're seeing. Like I said before, malls kind of a dying breed in the US, at least where we live. And we're looking around here, and there are stores of all varieties. You know, we saw Woolworths, interestingly enough, H&M, Nike. We saw an iStore, which is an authorized Apple retailer, but you walk into it, it looks just like an Apple store. Javiana's, the flip-flop store, which that's all they sell, literally, is flip-flops. This is a CBD right here in front of us. So they've got CBD gummies and cookies and so on. So it's been treats. And CBD for the doggies. Yep, so CBD for the doggies apparently. So been interesting as we just continue to be intrigued by some of the stuff that we're seeing here in Johannesburg. But that's it. We're gonna head back over to the hotel and kind of relax for the evening, figure out what we're gonna do tomorrow. Bye. All right, so we are after a little bit of rest from our trip over to the mall. Headed downstairs. We're downstairs outside of the restaurant that we've been eating at, downstairs in the hotel. And I think I showed you this before, a little waterfall thing that they have out here outside where you could eat outside. There's this little loungy area, but there's this little waterfall that they have, which is kind of cool. We hadn't been able to come out here the other night, but it's just pretty cool. So this is at the back of the hotel, right outside of the restaurant where we will be having our dinner. See ya. Alrighty. Unlike Ghana, where we had a number of different Ghanese things that we wanted to try, here in South Africa we haven't really been exposed to a lot of South African native dishes, if you will. So in our third test of dinner here, I guess we went with the very South African chicken cob salad and margarita pizza.
But this is different than a cob salad looks.
Okay, so it's a little different tasting, but yeah, we're just looking at the things. One night I had fish and chips. One night I had a kind of seafood platter with calamari and fish and prawns. So, and of course today we chowed down on some Krispy Kreme. So not really a lot of excitement of changing of things in what we're choosing to use here, to eat here in South Africa. See you later.